Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I'm going to have a story up sometime in the next couple of days about Jayden Daniels and some of those some of his touchdown passes that were rather low chances for success that he has found a way to complete. Anyways, just his accuracy in those big time plays, etc. So anyway, look for that on ESPN.com in a couple of days. Also, for you Gold members, you can join me for a private Zoom session on Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern time. And if you want to become a Gold member, go to the Empire Media YouTube page. You'll see the word join, go on your laptop, see the word join, go from there. Always enjoy those private Zooms. It's a chance to talk football and the Commanders for 30 to 40 minutes. You know, just us, talk some ball. And for you other club members, have a video out on the trade deadline talk, and that was out, I believe, on Wednesday. So I'll have another one out in a couple of days as well. So anyways, look for all that there for you club members. Now, today, I'm having a conversation with Ryan Porter, who is Jayden Daniels' private quarterbacks coach, has been with him since he was 10 years old, knows him very well. And I wanted to bring on someone who knows Jayden well this week because he has insight into him, into what we saw on Sunday. I don't think it surprised anybody who's known him for a long time. And one of the things that Porter said, what he's watching now, he looks like the same guy that he watched in high school and college, that it's looking that easy for him. Now, doesn't mean it's easy for him. It's just the way he makes it look. And so we talk about some of the things he had to play through in the past and things that he has seen Daniels and why he's one of the three people that Daniels calls before each game and has done that for a long time. So, he's a young man who's very much all about habits and consistency. And you see that in his approach, but Ryan gives really good insight into that. That's why I wanted to bring him on. Just a couple quick things for you before I turn to my conversation with Ryan. Johnny Newton was awarded a sack for that play in the first series by the Bears the other day, where he was initially credited with a tackle for a loss. The NFL, the team went to the league, asked him to reconsider. They changed it to a sack. So I believe the reason why it was not initially a sack is it looked like it was Caleb Williams initially was looking like he's going to throw a backwards pass, which would be considered a run. And I think that's why they did that. I think it's clear that it was going, first of all, he didn't throw it to him, so you can't assume that. And so I think you should have awarded him a sack right away. Anyways, he finally got one. First sack, feels pretty good. And Jayden Daniels, by the way, was limited in practice. I think the rib issue is something they're going to keep monitoring. But if he played last week, folks, don't worry. So anyways, that's it for me. Here's my conversation with Ryan Porter, Jayden Daniels' private quarterbacks coach.
Hey, it's Bram Weinstein here, voice of the Commanders, and of course, frequent guest of this podcast, the John Keim Report. I wanted to let you all know that my show, which airs at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on ESPN 630, is now exclusively produced by Empire Media, my company, and is going to be distributed through our network. So I'm asking you, please, if you subscribe to this show and love this show, give mine a try as well. Subscribe to the Bram Weinstein Show wherever you get your podcasts, and many of the shows and many of the elements that are in the show will be available on the Empire Media YouTube channel. We're going to talk a ton of Commanders and other DC sports. Check it out.
All right, Ryan, well, I got to start with, you've known Jane a long time. I'm going to guess you weren't surprised by what he did Sunday.
Yeah, not one bit. I've been seeing this for a long time. Just a different color helmet, different jersey. Yeah, I've been watching this for a while now.
When did you know he was different? And it just that he might be more of a special kind of player.
Like, yeah, when he's 11 years old and you're like, oh, it's going to be the next Heisman Trophy winner, right? Or it's going to be a first round pick. The kid's very, he's coordinated, very athletic, and he's good. But I think I think the honest answer for me is his junior season in high school when the consistency of big game after big game after, having success, big moment after big moment, and it just happened week after week after week after week after week after week after week. That's when I knew. I was like, yeah, this is different. Like I don't think we're going to see something like this come along for another 10, 15 years. Right. It was just crazy. Right. Like you just never saw the ball hit the ground. Very rarely. You just don't see him miss.
It takes a lot of mental toughness to do what he has did in that game. Like, because rib injury is no joke for a quarterback. When did you what's your experience with that mental toughness of his? When did that really stand out to you?
Goes back to the foundation that was, built at a very young age, right? From mentally and physically, right? The fundamental foundation laid in place, but more importantly, what his dad created. His dad helping him understand that you're going to have to operate within a chaotic situation at all times. You're going to have to play through pain. You're going to have to play through negativity. You're going to have to, this is going to be your world now. And just to help him understand that and put him in constant situations to do that at a very, 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 very young age.
How would you see it? Like, what things would would you have to test him on that to see, or how would he handle things that told you he's mentally tough?
Just in any type of pressure situation, he always remained, he had the same demeanor at all times. Like, yeah, mistakes are, I mean, rarely mistakes happen though, but every now and then, right, there'd be a greedy decision, right? Very rare. Or, a turnover would happen, or just something wasn't going right with the offense. And he just always, whether he threw a touchdown pass or there was a fumble on the play, he always came to the sideline with the same positive reaction, encouraging his teammates. It never changed. Um, Even if he was asked to do something over again in drill work, right? It never, like you see some kids at a young age that are kind of spoiled, entitled, and they don't really want to be out there like again, you know what I mean? Like if you told Jayden run 10 laps, he would just look at you and go, It wouldn't be like, I just ran 10. It would just, okay, I'll run 10 more. Like no questions asked. So I think that kind of stuff.
And the physical toughness, because again, you got to play through some stuff. So when did you see that really kind of show up?
I remember his dad shared with me his sophomore year in high school some of the injuries that he endured, which was like I think an ankle, a pinky, a thumb on his throwing hand, and he didn't statistically have probably the best year. And if you're comparing it to Jayden Daniels' statistic years, like in high school, throwing 62 touchdown passes back-to-back seasons. I mean, he threw 124 touchdown passes in 2 years. His junior season, and senior season. That's kind of crazy to think that, right? So he had gaudy numbers as a junior and senior, and I think he just kind of had an average statistical for Jayden numbers, right, his sophomore season. But a lot of people don't take in consideration like he had to wear a glove, right? And he had a broken thumb and pinky. He had some type of like hairline fracture, like a severely high ankle sprain. He played through it. He didn't take one game off. And that's
He had a
Jayden.
high ankle sprain and he didn't start.
No, the Jayden I know has never missed a high school game.
And like, how do you throw if you have a broken pinky in a thumb? Like, how do you throw the ball?
You figure it out. You figure it out. You're the master of improvising, right? So you figure it out. And I think that's what you're watching right now. You're watching the kid figure it out in all situations, in all circumstances given to him, right? The special ones do, you know. The average ones, they have excuses of why they can't, right? And there is none of that for Jayden. It's like, all right, I only got 4 fingers, or 3 fingers, I'll figure it out.
When
All
you
right, I got
watch
4 fingers, no thumb. Yeah.
when you watch him now, what do you think?
It looks the same to me. It looks exactly like it did when he was young, playing against the kids in Pop Warner. It looks identical to me, like it did when he was wearing, the green, black, and yellow at Cajon. how he's able to operate, how he's able to move his offense, the success he's able to have, how accurate he is. It's crazy to say that, and it's no disrespect to the game, but it looks like I'm watching the same kid who's going out there and just crushing it.
Why do you think it's like that for him?
I think a lot of it has to do with the preparation, the consistent routine that he's established, right? And the preparation that he puts in on, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, before the game. I don't think that that's talked about enough, right? For all quarterbacks. I think it's, you know, the the mental toughness, the upbringing from his father, and then the foundational training that's been put in place when he was a young kid. You know what I mean? He's been able to lean on that. Jayden's just had so many. He's taken advantage of, and just for whatever reason, it's just he has this aura about him. Just good people have followed him in his life. Like when we even talk about, like, what a perfect situation, the Commanders situation for him. Front office, ownership, head coach, offensive coordinator, right? Position coach, coaches, to the leadership, right, of the veterans, Bobby Wagner and Eckler and Ertz, and then even let's not forget the biggest piece of this, in my opinion, is Mariota. I mean, it's the perfect situation, right? And that kind of stuff just tends to follow Jayden wherever he's at, right? Whether it be high school, whether it be college, right? It's crazy. And me and his dad were just talking about this the other day. It's like, isn't that crazy? And it's like, yeah, it's crazy to think that, but no, it's just kind of divine intervention. When you have these special ones that come around, that's typically, you know, and also being being dealt with some adverse times through their life, and to embrace those adverse times, to embrace the adversity, and to not let it rattle you or shake you, but to use it as fuel to make you, you know.
And that's what I say, like that's where the mental toughness shows up too, because it's not like, I mean, college was very good for him, but it's never just a smooth ride.
You know, I think he's a like I said, routine based person, but I think a big component for him too, and he's very open about it, is his faith, right? He's a very faith driven person too, and his foundation and his Lord and Savior. You know what I mean? I think that's a big component for his success, and then I think he would tell you the same thing, John. Right? Um, he's very open about it, and proud of him for that. And it's something that he strongly believes in, and it works for him, and it's something that he leans on heavily. So
He's also, as you've talked before, a very routine based young man. And so where do you see that and how important is that for him, just that routine?
is something that I think everybody should take notes from him. It's creating good habits, right? Is he makes sure that we all understand the money's in the details, so he does the little things right. Right, how you do anything is how you do everything. Right, from how you put on your shoes every day, how you make your bed, right, the time spent brushing your teeth, right, your hygiene. I mean, everything. And he's very intentional about everything that he does. And his dad has instilled that in him at a very, very young age, right? Especially from the sports aspect and from, the mental toughness side of things too, I think. So, when you've been taught to create good habits at a very young age, and I think it's also an athlete thing, right? It's kind of a superstition, if you want to call it, but you follow that routine and you don't break routine, right? It's the consistency behind it that I think, why also you see a lot the success that he's having. It keeps him prepared, right? So where it makes Sundays just that much easier for him, because of all the work that he's put in. Right? But if you've so imagine this: if you haven't created those good habits as a young man, right, in middle school or high school and in college, and you've always just been and this is typically what happens, what I've seen being in the quarterback business, is you get kids that are just better than everybody. They're just physically better than everybody, right? They're bigger, stronger, faster. They can get away with just because they're just better than everybody. But then at some point, when you play on Saturdays or play on Sundays, everybody kind of catches up to you, right? So if you've spent a whole time of just being better than everybody and not created good habits and not learned to be proactive in your preparation, you're going to fizzle out in a couple years. There's nothing to lean back on to help you get an advantage on Sundays. While Jayden has been physically better than everybody, he's never taken that for granted, right? He's understood and had the mindset of maybe there is people that are better than me. I got to stay one step ahead, right? I got to make sure that I'm doing my part to create team success. So I'm doing my job. And then maybe that, right, is infectious, right? Like, so what it does is it starts other teammates start seeing that. Hey, if my trigger man over there, my general's over there preparing, like then you start seeing everybody else in the organization start doing the same thing. And you lead by example instead of a lot of guys that just want to start, barking,
For sure. And one of those habits is getting there between around 5:30 every day. What do you think he accomplishes by doing it, getting there early? Obviously you get things done, but what is it that you feel like he's trying to do by getting when he gets there that early to really kind of maximize his day and success?
right? It's how you start your day off, right? So it's kind of less distractions, right? I think somebody that wakes up earlier to get their work done, right? Everybody else is still asleep, right? And if you're the starting quarterback and excuse me, the leader of the organization, let's just understand the quarterback, right? Everybody's going to want 5 minutes of your time, right? To speak to you and to ask you questions or just to be around you. By you getting there early, it kind of cancels out all that noise. You can get in, you can get your hour lift in, right? And then you can get a couple, 2, 3 hours of notes, right? And film study or whatever you need to do where you can just kind of, by the time you get all that done, everybody's kind of checking in for the day, right? Coming in. And then you can get in and do the team stuff with your guys and stuff like that. But you already got a 4 hour head start pretty much on everybody else, right? To where you just, and I know it because I used to do the same thing when I played. Like go in there in a dark room, just you and your coffee and film, and it just gives you a chance to just take a deep breath and just review and see everything that you need to see, right? With no distractions.
When did he start doing that when you knew him? Well, you obviously know, but when you were working with him growing up, when did he start really getting into that aspect of the position?
Film study and stuff like that in high school with his dad. Obviously, his dad was, a coach, stuff like that. But Jayden started that the minute he stepped foot on Arizona State's campus. So I remember when he stayed in the dorm room briefly, Jayden started that routine. But it was already expected and known that he was going to start doing that. You get there early in the morning, right? You get all your work done, you get all your stuff. So yeah, I'd say college is when you started seeing that. I mean, obviously you couldn't really do that in high school. Now he'd come in and watch film with Coach Rogers, and obviously watch a ton of film with his dad. But it's a little bit different, right? In high school, I mean, your school hours, block scheduling
Right.
doesn't permit you to do that kind of stuff. But yeah,
And then when you watch him now, like the mechanics of the position, what do you see when how much of what you guys worked together, what he worked on when he was younger, are you seeing now on the field?
it's one of the most beautiful things I've, I've ever seen, I've ever witnessed, right? And I'm not just saying that because um, I've worked with him for such a long time, but I think if you like really dive into what like Tony Romo and especially Troy Aikman talks about the fundamental aspect of things, there's this big debate going around in QB about the air raid offense and how it's impossible to operate in the shotgun from rhythm and timing. I think if people just kind of close their mouths and watch, you're watching, he's from a fundamental standpoint, you're watching him take multiple 5 steps, you're watching him take multiple 3 steps, you're watching him take, 7 step out of shotgun, and he's able to time up all of his route concepts and individual routes where he wants to throw, from a rhythm and timing aspect, from his footwork and from his drops. And it's like, man, it's poetry in motion. Like that is crazy to watch, but like we've seen it done before. And I think in this shotgun era, you know, I've heard, multiple QB uh QB guys, I guess you would call them, on, NFL Network, ESPN, say like, everybody's just taking a 3 step or taking a one slide, and Yeah, but if you're watching 5 out there, nah, you're watching him throw. He's literally tying every concept in with his footwork. Um, and you don't see that now much with the shotgun era.
What
You
advantage
don't
does that
see.
give him?
Oh man, he's always going to be on time, right? He's going to be able to throw catchable balls. He's going to be able to throw. He's not going to give indicators to the defense of when he's throwing. Um, defense is studying him, right? So he's creating confidence not only for his as an offensive unit, but now he's creating, unconscious confidence for his unit up front, which has been instilled in him at a very young age. He's getting the ball out with, on time. I could speak I could speak about this for hours just being a QB nerd and stuff, but like I'm literally watching the game. My wife and my kids will be down there. I'm like, up, rhythm 5, up, flash 5, all right, up, arena drop, which we call the old, 3-step with no cross. And like his dad will send me. There's so many people that are breaking down all this film now, and they're trying to critique this of him. You can't critique what you don't know, just like you can't teach what you don't know, right? And they're seeing this young kid go in there and take these old school, you know, 1990 style drops in a shotgun era. It's wild, man. It's crazy to watch. And I talk about it with him every Sunday. And I was like, I see you, and he's like, you know it. I say, I see you taking all these multiple drops. You'll see him take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different drops in one game. Right, the speed of the drop in his transition, it's crazy. It's beautiful to watch, and it's intentional.
And how does that lead to the, for his accuracy and everything? How much did that help that?
I always say, what your feet do, your arm does. All right, your eyes control your feet control your arm. And he's the best I've ever seen to do that. And I've been around, obviously training QBs, ton of college guys now and 4-star, 5-star high school guys, and different guys that played, NFL, CFL, and stuff like that. I haven't seen anybody better. I haven't seen anybody better.
And because you talk to him, it's before every game, right? He calls you before every game, right?
Call me for every game.
So what do you hear in his voice when he calls you? Do you ever hear any different? Do you ever hear this level of excitement, or is just always chill guy?
A chill, confident individual, right? That is just grateful, happy to be getting another opportunity, another Sunday to play this game, right? Never, not a self-absorbed person at all. Very just laid back and just grateful for the opportunity to play the game.
What was the conversation like this past Sunday?
I was grateful that it was a 1 o'clock game, Pacific
For you,
time,
yeah.
right? Yeah, because typically I'll get a call like at 4:30 or 5 in the morning on Sundays. It'll wake me up and I'll be half out of it. But yeah, he just, we. I asked him. I said, so what's the deal? We going? And he's like, you know it. You're gonna keep me off the field, okay? Right? And that's just kind of what we didn't talk about. All right, so the specifics of what hurts, why it hurts. You know what I mean? I just, he's good to go. All right, and talk about, all right, where are they vulnerable on defense? What's their base coverage? What's their favorite blitz, stunts, stuff like that. Just real brief. You know what I mean? And really, just how you feeling? How you feeling? Ready to go? You
Does
know,
he, does he, when you ask him, "Are you going?" What's he say? He's like, "Come on."
you know it. Ain't gonna keep me off this field. You know it. That's exactly how he answered. You know it. You know I am. Ain't gonna keep me off this field.
Yeah, and that and how long do you talk to him before you? How many people does he call before games, and how long do you guys talk?
We typically have a 5 to 7 minute conversation. Sometimes, yeah, maybe 3 minutes. I know he's a busy guy, right? So like I said, I was a journeyman in my pro career, played, a lot of AFL, CFL, and I mean mostly the 98% of my career was in the Arena Football League. So, and not to the extent of what he does, but played college football too. So I know it can be hectic on game day. You don't really want to spend much time on the phone. You're focused, man. You're locked in. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be one of those mentors and coaches in his life that just wants to keep him on the phone and very brief. Um, but I know he talks to his dad. That's the last phone call he makes, and I know he talks to his cousin. Those are the 3 people. And he did like this Powerade commercial. And he was LSU. I'll send it to you, and it talks about the three people specifically.
Hmm.
He talks to and talks about the music that he listens to. It talks about his routine a little bit.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he like you said, he's a big routine guy. And the
Mhm.
last thing too is I know he's also a guy that likes to talk a little trash, it seems. When you're around the locker room, he loves razzing with Bobby Wagner. And I know there's guys in the PR staff, there are guys in the PR staff that he would, heckle for being Mets fans. Like he likes to do that stuff. So what's it like with you? What's it like with others?
You call me or we talk, or it'd just be a barrage of text messages, and it's just a roast fest. You know what I mean? Like it's, and if you didn't know us and you're like, listening into the conversation or reading the text, you're like, oh my God. Like, don't let a picture pop up on social media. I grew out this mustache at one point, and I got probably a text message every day with a screenshot about how ugly I am, and like, but that's Jayden, right? Like, but I think it's a guy's thing, right? I think it's more just he just lets you know how much he loves you, and we poke fun at each other, like, but you better bring your A game around him too. You better bring your A game. Because it's the same way. That's how me and his dads have conversations, and whatever.
I don't, has he changed at all since you've known him?
No, I mean, maybe his bank account,
I think that's a little bit different. Yeah.
yeah, no, he's more busy. You know what I mean? He's busy, and I know his time is a little bit more precious now than it used to be. But other than that, no, I wouldn't say, other than time. You know what I mean? I think other than time, he used to have more time, but now I can only imagine. And he's already a really private kid, but demeanor's still the same. Same, it's the same productive kid that you watched in Pop Warner.
Ryan, listen, man, I appreciate your time. And for people listening, you should know that we had actually taped something and my computer battery died right before we were wrapping up. So Ryan was gracious enough to retape this, and I really appreciate that. So I appreciate coming on. I enjoyed the insight into someone that I think a lot of people are really enjoying watching, of course, and getting to know, but also just like he's a fun player to watch, man. And like you said, this is what you've been watching for a long time.
John, it looks just like it did in high school. It looks like it did in college. I think a superstar was born. I said it. I said it when he was at Arizona State, and I'm gonna say it again. I truly believe it. And I said it when he was in college. I think you're witnessing a future Heisman Trophy winner, first round pick, and I think 100% you guys are witnessing a future NFL MVP and a Super Bowl champion. I think you guys got a generational talent, and I'm excited for all you Commander fans. And not only do you have a special quarterback, he's an amazing human being with a huge heart, and you guys got a good one, and I'm happy for everybody.
Ryan, I appreciate the time, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Ryan for joining me, and thank you as always for tuning in. I'll be back on Friday morning with another episode talking to ESPN's Jordan Raanan about the New York Giants. And some of you may remember, because some of you got annoyed with him the first time I had him on this year, kind of thought he was a little bit arrogant about this roster or whatever. So wanted to ask him about that too. Join me on Friday with Jordan Raanan. Talk to you next time.